Welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast with author Sarah F. Hathaway and co-host Chen Gibson. Blending survival, fiction, and fact to bring you entertaining education that will help you dream, survive, and thrive. And now, here's your host, Sarah F. Hathaway and Chen Gibson.
Chapter 6. It's amazing this bus is still moving, Chappie declared, listening to the engine struggle. Monroe laughed, commenting on its dilapidated condition, while Cole watched LePierre. The man was his best sniper, and Cole needed his focus today. General McClintock told me as soon as he gets back, we're headed to California, Cole assured him softly, gripping his leg. It has been too long, Major, LePierre fretted. Today I need your focus. Can you do that? Yes, sir, LePierre answered confidently. Gentlemen, I want minimal casualties. It's not their fault they lost their homes. Yes, sir, the fighters replied. As the truck neared the end of town, the sound of gunfire grew louder. Let's move, people, Cole directed as the bus came to a stop. Cole exited into the dust of the battlefield. I'm having a hard time seeing anything in this crap, Monroe explained, looking through the binoculars. Scouts are reporting a large group of refugees held up in a small block of buildings to the north of us, Chappie added. They moved in with the team, assessing the layout of the town. Status report, Sergeant Cook, Cole requested, speaking into the radio he pulled from his hip. The radio crackled with static before a voice responded. They have minimal weaponry, sir. A farmer chased them from his property. Take your team around the back. This town is scheduled for reconstruction this week. I want them rounded up with minimal damage to the people and the buildings, Cole commanded. Yes, sir, the voice responded through the static. The gunfire continued steadily, and a woman screamed in pain in the distance. Monroe, take a team to the left and circle around those buildings. Use a window entry point if you have to, Cole directed. Yes, sir, Monroe responded, before turning to the team of men. You four, you're with me. Chappie, take a team and cover the building on the right, Cole directed, wanting to box them in further. Yes, sir, Chappie replied, gathering his team. LePierre, Higgs, let's start pushing in. The team laid down cover fire to get LePierre into a position where he could pinpoint the group's leader. Bursts of gunfire sounded from the left and a refugee screamed in pain. The refugees centered their counterfire until Chappie's team opened up from the other side. One of the refugees screamed, "We'll never surrender!" spraying bullets at the mercenary forces. Cole's radio crackled as Cook voiced her frustration. They're dug in deep, sir. Taking a deep breath, Cole directed LePierre. Use your rifle. Put a bullet in the loud one. But, sir, you said, LePierre countered. I know what I said, but if we eliminate the one, the rest might come quietly. You're good enough to stop that man without killing him. Yes, sir, LePierre agreed, lifting his rifle and peering down the scope. If I line it up just right, his voice trailed off as his rifle sounded. A bullet ripped through the air, and the man in the distance dropped into the street, screaming in pain and holding his leg. No one has to die here today, Cole yelled as the gunfire paused. Put down your weapons and come out. We have food, homes, and jobs for you. The silent whispers of the people in the building slunk through the awkward silence as Cole awaited a response. There were already too many injured lying about who needed immediate attention if they had any hope of surviving this day. We're coming out, a voice sounded from the building. Cole breathed a sigh of relief listening to the clacking sounds of weapons being put on the concrete as the people stepped out with their hands in the air. Monroe and Chappie moved their teams forward with their rifles, centered on the people. Good work, LePierre, Cole congratulated him as he stepped forward. Monroe was giving directions for the people to lie on their stomachs. The mercenary soldiers fell upon them and zip-tied their hands behind their backs. Approaching the man LePierre had shot, Cole asked, How's he doing? He'll live, sir, Cole declared, lending medical care to the man. Sir, we're ready to load up the refugees, but we can't take all these injured. We'll need another transport, Monroe explained. Get these people loaded. This town is scheduled for reconstruction anyway. Guess we'll start with the clinic, Cole commanded. We've got a lot of medics in towns, but not enough doctors, Sergeant Cook commented, putting a dressing on the man's leg. Let me see what I can do about that, Cole responded to her. We can't have a town without doctors. We're all set, sir, Monroe reported, approaching. Think we'll still be able to use those buildings? Cole wondered, analyzing the structures. The engineers will take care of it, Major, Monroe replied. We'll need them now, Cole told him, heading towards the bus. I want to make a stop on the way back. You're in charge, Major. Let's go then. We'll be home with a beer in no time, Cole suggested. He wanted to drink away the pit in his stomach that doing roundups left him with. Now you're talking my language, Major. We got everyone accounted for, Cole asked. Here comes Chappie, Monroe replied. Can you send the bus back for me later, sir? I'm going to help the doctor at the center for a few hours, Chappie requested. I'll send one of the cars back for you. Thanks, Chappie, Cole replied, happy he would stay to help these people. Of course, Chappie answered, hustling off towards the buildings. As Cole closed the door, Monroe asked, Where are we headed, sir? There's a farm outside of town. Following his directions, Monroe drove the bus to a large farm where a group was busy assembling a barn. Exiting the bus, a hammering sound rang in the distance, and the air smelled sweet. A tall man with a round belly and a slender build approached with a curious look on his bearded face. The people working in the barn looked nervously toward Cole. He smiled at the older gentleman as he approached. Nice spread you got here, sir. The older man took a defensive body posture, declaring, It's been in my family for generations. And please, call me Earl. I'm not questioning your status, Earl, but what about them? Are they your family? Cole asked, trying to figure out the situation here. No, they're refugee families that volunteered to help us rebuild in exchange for housing. Is that okay? Earl inquired. As long as they don't cause problems, my lips are sealed. Do you have a family? My eldest son was in Maine, and my youngest son, his wife, and my grandson were in California. We've had no word from either, Earl explained. Both Maine and California were hit very hard. I'm sorry. What did you do before the quake? I had a veterinary clinic in California. When the quake hit, my wife and I were here on an emergency business matter. Lucky you, Cole commented. I guess so, Earl noted. How so, Cole wondered. You survived. You have great property here. I get that. But I have no idea what happened to my family. In this place, it was my ancestors' dream, not mine, Earl admitted. You've got people here to work the farm. How about going back to work as a doctor? It sure would earn you some brownie points around here, Cole suggested. Working with animals? Earl wondered. How about people first? I'd really rather work with animals. I understand, and as soon as we have the personnel to staff the clinic, you can return to that profession, Cole offered. How's that sound? Do you even have a clinic? Earl wondered. Cole chuckled at his frankness. Brainerd is scheduled for reconstruction. We're building you one now. You know, without the tools and equipment to look inside someone, it's all just guesswork, Earl commented. We'll get you the equipment, but we need your help with the doctoring part, Cole assured him. I think I can live with that, Earl agreed, extending his hand to shake Cole's. Good. Report to the clinic in town. Sergeant Cook can get you going. What's your last name? I'll let them know you're coming. Last name is Moore, Earl replied. Thanks, Doc. We'll see you in town, Cole declared, heading for the bus. How about that beer, he asked Monroe, surveying the tired eyes of the soldiers on the bus.
Fish mocks. Fish docks. For the longest time, preppers have been looking for an answer for antibiotics in a disaster or emergency. In 2020, we watched the supply chain fall apart. When I met the team at Jace Medical, they explained to me how they can put a prescription of backup antibiotics into your hands. The Jace case is 5 different types of antibiotics. Unlimited physician follow-up for any questions relating to the use of these antibiotics, and a written emergency antibiotic guide that is authored by a board-certified physician. This is the antibiotic solution preppers have been waiting for. Go to jacemedical.com and check out the Jace case. Use the promo code PBN10 and you'll get $10 off your Jace case. All right, take your medical preparedness to the next level. Go to jacemedical.com and use promo code PBN10 for $10 off.
Hello and welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast. This is episode number 401. We're over the 400 mark. Incredible. Hey, Chen, what's up?
Hey, cheers up, y'all.
Yeah, who'd have ever thunk that I'd be 401 shows
And
deep.
one.
I know. When I started this adventure so long ago. So I was like, man, my archives is just like a rundown of my life for the last 6 years. Like people going back to listen to my books are like, wow, she's come a long way. Or maybe not.
When I was on the treadmill listening
yeah.
years ago.
I know. Like my number one fan. I was like, you want to help me out with some stuff?
That's not what I was expecting.
Oh, I loved it though. You always gave me the best feedback as you were reading the book, and it was the best. I love
because we did it like live in real time as I was reading. I pop off a note.
Yes. Yeah.
No, you did it. You didn't shoot him.
Yeah, you didn't do
slam that door.
Oh man. Oh, shoo. Yeah. Oh, it was the best. So, anybody out there reading my books, man, I really, really love that stuff. Everybody's like, well, I don't want to bug you. I'm like, bug away.
That's what's cool about nowadays, because you can interact with people.
Right.
I mean, back as a kid reading books, like, you never, like, dial up Stephen King and say, what the hell with that blood all over that girl,
Yeah. Have access on, like, a platform to be able to access them directly. Yeah. How exciting is that? And from an author point of view, I mean, it's awesome because you just wrote a book and put it out there. Maybe you'd hear people talk about it in a news article or something if it got big, but you never really know. And I still don't a lot of times till like the reviews come in and stuff. But I love being able to go along on the adventure. And there's really nothing better than when I have like people that are interested in it. They come to my house, they want to listen to it or whatever on whatever platform, and to watch their faces, so much goes into the creating of it. And so rewarding to be able to hear that. So today we're doing chapter 6 of Virgis. Things are rolling. They got they're doing some sweeps. McClintock's out of town.
Bus ride.
The bus ride. It's just like your rickety old bus, like backfired.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, it's just interesting, especially now. I mean, I wrote these stories so many years ago, and Virgis is really just a continuation of it, And then to see what's happening with all the climate refugees across the planet, it's crazy, actually, to know that, hey, like, this is going to be a major problem, guys. We might want to have a look at it, instead of worrying about what's under your shorts or something like that. Anyway, I'm just saying, like, there might be bigger fish to fry.
Oh, my goodness. You went there.
I did, because I'm just tired of it, Like,
you hit the target.
There's so... I did. I don't usually go politics.
This butt's for you, sir.
But yeah, whatever. Just don't, like there's so many other things that we really need to be thinking about.
Yeah, more important.
Yeah, as a society. And so that's all just smoke and mirrors. So we're not paying attention to what's really going on. And that in itself is sad. Yeah, and ploys to make more money. I mean, just greed game. Whenever you're really confused about something, you just look at what happened with the money behind what happened, and then you're like, oh, Yep, somebody was just making money. Same way with the, Bud Light and the stocks and all kinds of stuff like that. Just games are playing with it and just using your emotion and your emotional triggers to make themselves more money.
Yeah.
It's really sickening. Yeah. So, all right. So let's get off of that and let's talk about Fiction Land because that's way more fun. So they go out on the roundup. Lapierre, doesn't really want to shoot anyone. They don't really want to hurt people. These are the American people. They fought really hard to protect these people and ensure their freedoms and whatnot. And here they are in this position where, they're turning against fellow Americans. So very tough for Virgis. But it was the late, great James Yeager that always said, you shoot the loud one, right? You got a group coming at you. One person's going to stand out more than the rest, and that's the one you take out. So made its way in my story. Well, it's true, especially when it comes to mob mentality,
Yep.
It's clear that certain people will emerge, whether that's good intentions or nefarious intentions. Certain people will emerge that really push the crowd in one direction or another. So, love that point from him. Wish we could do an interview about it. So they complete the roundup and they're like, okay, we got all these injured people, but all we have is medics. So medics are great. They get people to where they need to be treated. However, somebody has to be there to do the treating, So that's what I really wanted to talk about today, is the difference between like the medic and a doctor and how valuable these people are, how you need to start really thinking about that now and who you could kind of recruit on that note. So Virgis chooses Earl because he was a vet, and vets are also trained in human medicine right beforehand.
Work with animals better.
Yep. Yeah. Totally your character. You got lines coming up here soon. Next section you'll be up, Chin. Gave you a break.
Give me a break.
But not anymore. So why does having a doctor matter? So we've been kind of talking about this in and out over the last year, just because some, with Brock and his kidney stones, the issue really came up, and I've done so many interviews with emergency medics, with survival medics, and first responders, that type of thing, and their job is to really stabilize a patient and get them to help. So remember that interview we did with Kevin? Were you with me? It was a long time ago. Were you with me on that? I think you were with me on that one.
Was I? I'm not sure.
I can't remember. Great guy. Totally adept at being this emergency medic who can come in, swoop in, clean up the situation, get people to where they need assistance. And I kept pressing him about, well, what happens when you take them to the hospital and nobody's there?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what do you do then? So personally, I've even trained as an EMT. And in that process, I learned that there's a big difference between learning something and doing something. Right? Like,
talked about that too. Yeah.
Yeah. It was great. Like in the classroom and everything. And even when I did like the ride alongs and that, because you had somebody else, you weren't really expected to do anything. Right? Like you're just ride along, like to watch. Right? And then when the circumstance came around that I was the one who was medically trained and somebody needed my assistance, I was really happy that the fire department was very close and somebody else could do it, honestly. Some people can, be calm and be okay with that. I freaked out with having somebody else's life in my hands. It was just scary. Just too much pressure. I don't know. I'm a performer. I like to do things with excellence, and just the idea of like,
I play a doctor.
yeah, you play the doctor. Yeah, just like knowing that if I screw up, this person could be like gone. No, I was not the one for that. And really, I trained because I wanted to do ski patrol. So it wasn't like going to car wrecks, but you do see some gnarly things out there. So, I've also researched a lot of herbal medicine, and I've researched a lot of herbal medicine, how that works. I have tinctures, things that I put into use. Would I call myself an expert? Not on any level. And I've done a lot more research than the average Joe, but still to like think about in a post-apocalyptic situation, I'm going to be able to make up remedies for people. I mean, I do my best, but your best only goes so far sometimes. So, not something again that I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm the pro at that for sure. I've even done classes. We've done like Stop the Bleed classes, very intensive, emergency medical classes. And again, I still wouldn't want to be in that position without somebody else, that knows more than I do.
But even still, like most of the classes we've taken or I've taken, the goal is to like triage and get to
Stabilize.
Professional care, right? So
right.
Yeah. So it's not like long-term care.
It's not being able to have somebody come in your office and diagnose them with what's going on internally with their stomach, So, very interesting thing to think about. And the truth of it is, I've talked to Dr. Bones about this in the past, is that even modern day doctors are very specialized in one area. So they're going to be good, unless you have like your general practitioners, but not everyone is. And so they're going to have like a specialized knowledge. They'll have more knowledge than the average Joe, but that's not what they were really doing, right? Also, if they don't have access to like the tools to be able to look inside someone and see what's going on, then they're really back at square one too.
Tell me if this hurts.
Right. Yeah, like here's the pressure. Okay, I can kind of like assess, but you don't know if like they're bleeding internally or something. So yeah, you're kind of back to like the 1800s doctor that was coming around and
get the leeches out.
Yeah, I guess. I would say we still have our like modern knowledge, but without the tools, they're really going to struggle. And then teeth is another thing altogether, right? Like I do want to get one of those extraction kits because I think that would be really important. Oh my goodness. I know, but like if you have a toothache and your other alternative is like a Coleman. So
I have a winch on the front of my truck.
I would get the tooth extraction kit before I would get the surgery kit. Okay. Because I'm just saying, like, who's doing the surgery? Glenn Beck said that in one of his episodes, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's so right. That his wife was like, you bought a surgery kit? Who's doing the surgery? Like, you ain't cutting me open, dude. And I could see, like, doing stitches or whatever, but a lot of times even that's not appropriate because you want it to be able to weep and stuff. Yeah. So, I would definitely, the tooth extraction kit actually gives me like more interest than the surgery kit. Cause I'm like, if you're there, like, I'm not letting my husband cut me open. No, I'm good. Right? Yeah. JB in the chat. Just picturing that sounds painful. Thanks for joining us in the chat. Always love having you guys there. It's so special. But yeah, there's no way. So really what can you do? There's a lot of articles out there. And the reality of it is, yes, you do need to stockpile medical supplies. Okay, your first aid kit is just not going to cut it. Like, oh, I have a little hiking first aid kit. That's what we're going to use. That is not going to cut it at all. So, Dr. Bones always talks about take a can of Coke and pour it on the floor and then try to soak it up with gauze. right? It takes a lot of gauze, and you could easily lose that much blood in a single wound, right? So you're going to need a lot of that. There's some great companies out there that sell like big packs, a lot of schools, they can't use it once it's expired. But I mean, that doesn't really matter. So I'd rather have that than nothing, right? And same with like emergency medical supply places and whatnot. They give a lot of it for training, but then a lot of it also just goes in the trash, honestly.
I just scored a bunch at that discount grocery store that I go to.
Right?
'Cause it must have been out or something, but
Yeah.
the square pads. Then there was other ones for burn wounds.
Yeah, you just pick them up.
Throw that in the cart.
This is really like the next project I think I'm going to work on is having a shelf system that's like dedicated to stockpiling more medical supplies.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing pretty good in all of my other avenues. And I was like, except for communications. But
you read my mind.
I know.
You let me get that.
I know. I have to call myself out on it first. But
I'm worried about being able to talk to y'all.
I know. I'm going to get there.
My world would shrink so badly if I couldn't talk to you guys.
I'm going to get there. We're going to do some focus. I'm finishing up a lot of projects. So just so you guys know, I didn't make the announcement at the beginning. I was busted now. Virgis, the print book is ready to go. It's available on Amazon now. If you're in the chat or have access to the chat.
Check it out.
Yeah, you'll find the link there. And also, I just got done building out episodes 1 to 4. It doesn't mean it's coming next week because we have a lot of work to do on it still. But at least they're built out. So that's super exciting. And I did too much celebrating last night because I was very, very happy to be past that milestone. So good things coming. But yeah, check that out. Virgis is there. Ebook. Amazon had a little hiccup. What I'll do actually is I can put that ebook on my website and get it available there to you sooner than it's probably going to be up on Amazon. So we'll just go that direction. I sell my ebooks there anyway, cheaper than Amazon. So yeah, www.changingearthseries.com. changingearthseries.com and check that out. Okay, so JB says that she's adding a wheelchair to her preps. Yeah, smart idea. What if somebody just broke a leg? Like, even if you didn't have an elder person or that, what if somebody just like broke a leg and you have to just keep moving, keep walking? Wouldn't it be easier to be pushing someone in a chair or like have a cart or some kind of option other than...
I've got a garden cart.
Right.
And it's got a dump feature too, so I can just dump you out.
Yeah, just bloop onto the ground, start the fire. That'd be great. I'm so excited to ride in your cart if I was hurt. Yeah. So plus size family members, or if you have kids, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If they fall, you can't lift them up. That is rough. That is something to consider. My father-in-law was just a big man.
That's
he
the
wasn't.
Tractor's for.
Yeah. Yeah. He wasn't overweight, but he was just a big man. And then my mother-in-law has osteoporosis. And so that's one thing that we always kind of worried about was, if he fell down, she couldn't get him up. So, yeah, something definitely to think about. So the other thing is stocking your meds. Of course, everybody says that. Usually if you talk to your doctor about your thoughts, those kind of things, they will give you extra prescriptions depending on what you're taking. Also, we did the commercial for Jace Case at the beginning of the show. Jace Case is 100% worth it, guys. 100%. I think it's PBN if you use the promotion code. PBN, you get a deal on it, and you help out Prepper Broadcasting Network. So, of course, we want to do that.
I think I heard Jace Case advertised with Bannon now.
I've heard Jace Case all over the place.
Yeah.
Definitely with Glenn
but
now.
We had him first.
We did. We had him before Glenn did even. It was awesome.
That's right. See
yeah.
that?
Yeah. So, really, really cool. It gives you, not only do you get the antibiotics you need to have stocked for that rainy day, much better than having to buy like fish mocks or whatever. They also give you a guide to all of the antibiotics, which is priceless. And they also have, in today's time, you can get access to a doctor anytime. You just call them up about what's going on, and they will help advise you what to take and whatnot. Plus, an American company. So you can't go wrong. We need to have our medications made in the United States. Big problem if we had, look at with the virus, we had all kinds of supply chain disruption. Imagine how many people would, just be going, just have horrible things happening if we had the supply cut off. So we need to bring our pharmaceutical production back home. Plus, man, I would trust things that are made here more than, pretty much anywhere else. Mm-hmm. So, okay. And then, if you have my son got pink eye, right? And, probably, I won't say that on there, but that's okay. Not his fault. I'm going to put it that way. But it's probably where he's working. Okay. I'll say it, but yeah. They call it the Rainforest Cafe because the roof is so leaky. I got him one of those umbrella hats. He didn't think it was so funny. Great. Yeah. He didn't think it was very funny, but I did.
It counts.
Right. But anyway, if they get, a sty, if you get pink eye, that kind of thing, they give you the different ointments and treatments. Keep it. Once it's cleared up, you don't need them anymore. Keep that stuff around. Store it up. Yep. You can't go wrong with antibiotic creams and things like that. So, I always save them. I have a box that everything goes into. And most things will live way past their shelf life.
Right?
Yeah. It's just they start to lose potency. Pills will actually hold the longest. But, if you have a tube of ointment that you haven't opened or broken the seal on or anything, that's going to last for years. Way past that expiration date. I would use the same kind of rules with medications that I use with food. If it doesn't look right, when in doubt, throw it out. But, yeah, I think that you can definitely use those things well beyond their expiration date. Okay, so read and learn and do all you can. If you have somebody that's interested in being medically trained, get them all the training you can. These are all great things. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. I'm not saying you shouldn't learn. I'm not saying, because everybody needs to cross train as well. You don't want to have just one person doing one thing.
What if the doctor gets hurt?
Right. Who helps the doctor? So, but the bottom line is that there's just really no replacement for a professionally trained medical professional. Whether that was a nurse, a doctor, a nurse practitioner, these types of people are absolutely priceless. So you need to find people that you can trust, that have this knowledge, have this training. I'm very blessed to have a nurse very close to me at this house. So that would be something that I would definitely call upon in those times. But I'm also planning on feeding them, right? You have to have a trade-off. And probably a doctor is going to work for food at that time. So that's something to think about in your preps. Like, I have extra food, so if I find a doctor, I'm going to feed them, and they can help keep our community well, right? So definitely want to think, like, you'd have to exchange something at that point for their services. That's when you have to know what your bartering item's going to be. So yeah, medically trained doctors, priceless. Find them. Get them in your group. Only a third of America is preparing. So there's going to be a lot of unprepared doctors that need you, and you're going to need them. So it'll be a good.
Yep.
Good.
Scratch each other's back.
That's right. Good match. Alrighty, we're whipping through today. We had some stuff go down on the planet, but actually it's been, well, we have some major disasters to go over. But the sun activity is actually chilling out, so that's cool. All right, let's go ahead and play some music, and we'll get into the change of news. All right, change of Earth news. So as I mentioned, I know I'm going to have to get like some kind of something for that. Have one of my kids do it or something. I'm good at that. We did have a M-class solar eruption from a sunspot that it was way bigger. It released like an X-class before it was turning in towards us. So that was good. It only came off as an M-class. Nothing huge going to come off of that one. But we do have eyes on. There's more activity happening, but seems a little chill. Our next ramp up is really supposed to be July, August time. And with the state of the magnetic shielding, that'll be another interesting time. So, and it should be right in the hot summer nights and all that stuff. Because, you know, the solar activity makes people a little woohoo. So, it does. It's no lie, man. I watch it in the morning. I'm like, uh-oh. How's everybody going to be today? So, it's just definitely something to consider. And with elections coming, it's going to be so entertaining. All right, May 20th, we had 389 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger. Biggest of which was a 7.1 in the South Pacific Ocean by New Caledonia. But what was interesting about that day is 10 of all of the biggest earthquakes of the day all happened there in the South Pacific by New Caledonia. Not very often you see that. It was rocking and rolling. In southern Mongolia, they had strong winds with heavy sandstorms. It struck the east, the southeast, and the southern Gobi provinces. It's really been going on since May 19th. So it was a couple of days of this just horrendous weather. One person was killed and about 16 are missing. Out there, it's mostly like Mongolians have their herds still and things like that. So these 16 people are the herdsmen who had, you know, flocks out and that, and they can't find them right now. About 1,000 households have been affected by this disastrous situation. Significant damage to both structures as well as their infrastructure. And many livestock have died in the winds and the amount of sand that's just been attacking them, basically. In northern Australia, there was a pretty big asteroid that came in and exploded in the air. So it's interesting to watch the videos where people are like shrinking out of the way and stuff. Like that would help with with the asteroid if it was going to hit you, you know. But I guess, you know, human reaction is human reaction. So it was 0.5 to 1 meter or 1.6 to 3.2 foot in size. And it came in pretty fast, exploded, and this blue-green light, so it was pretty cool. In Russia and Tixi, they had a big blizzard come in. Northern Spain saw unprecedented rain affecting the Navarre community. It had water entering homes. In Lasaka, there was a landslide that clogged the channel, causing 15 homes to flood. And also in Spain, so they're having that huge rain event in north of Spain, but also they have a huge forest fire burning there as well in the province of Caceres, and they have about 700 people evacuated because of the wildfire threat. So just these extremes that we're seeing on the globe is pretty crazy. Just one area is just getting pummeled, and one area is so dry it's just burning up. On the 21st of May, there was 453 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, the biggest of which was a 6.8 in the Indian Ocean in South Africa. What I found most interesting about these earthquake numbers was like on the 29th, it's 389. And then just the next day, it's up to 453. So we were seeing some solar activity in there. I'm going to place the blame pretty squarely on the solar activity. The biggest that day was a 6.8 in the Indian Ocean by South Africa. Southern India and Bengaluru, Bengaluru. It was inundated with water, heavy rain and wind, marble-sized hail, so not the biggest we've seen lately, but there was a lot of it. Trees coming down. One 22-year-old woman died when her vehicle was trapped under an overpass, and a 31-year-old man passed away in the storm drain after being washed away by the floodwater. In southern Italy, Mount Etna is making a bunch of noise over there. It is Europe's most active volcano. It's been making noise for about 2 months, so flights over there were suspended. Dense ash prevented any kind of visual observation for a while, but the ash cloud was going about 7.6 kilometers or 25,000 foot in the air. There was a sharp rise in earthquake activity before that eruption, so they kind of knew it was coming. And then in Spain, it's a rural area, but they had a tornado touchdown out there too, so they've really just been getting it all over in Spain. It's been a wild ride, and they're not done with the week yet. In central Mexico, this is the one that
Ben.
was struggling with. It's Popocatépetl volcano. Popocatépetl. Spanish is really cool because you can pretty much sound out words way better than English. So the volcano is having intense eruptive activity, and there's about 3 million people surrounding that volcano that are ready for evac if they need to. The ash from that eruption went 9.7 kilometers or 32 feet above sea level, or 32,000 feet above sea level. And flights to Mexico City have been delayed. Schools are closed. But they do have one really cool video from an airplane that was flying into Mexico City where you could see the volcano erupting like from air. It's a pretty cool video. On May 22nd, there was 494 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger. So again, a very active day. Again, we're not into the 500 range, but that's still a lot of earthquake activity. The biggest of which was a 5.5 in the South Pacific Ocean in New Caledonia. In northern Thailand, 7 people died that were ages 6 to 13 at their school when the storm caused the gym roof to collapse. So that was a really, really sad event. 18 others were injured in that incident, and then they had a massive amount of damage due to the rain and the storms that came in. In southern France, they had 2 hours of torrential rain that caused massive flash flooding, material damage, and a landslide completely cut off the town of Tuli. In northern Morocco, 1 hour of heavy rain flooded streets and the Casperata market. It was like the renowned Casperata market. So I guess if you're in Morocco, that's where you need to go. They had a problem with the amount of garbage on the street clogging up the drains, so it made the flooding situation much, much worse. In Canada, the Alberta fires are still burning. They've determined that about 40% of them have been caused by lightning. So definitely just dry territory. When the lightning's hitting it, it's starting off these fires. Russia's also dealing with forest fires in the Altai territory. And they've been working on those for a while as well. That section's been burning there. It's southern Russia. On May 23rd, there was 386 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger. So finally, those numbers coming down. The biggest of which was a 6.1 in the South Pacific Ocean by New Caledonia. So that area is just really, really rocking and rolling lately. In west central Saudi Arabia, 5 regions there were just lashed by flooding and hail. It was crazy. It's like they're literally using backhoes to scoop the hail and stuff off the road.
Oh, man.
Right? Yeah. And then the floodwaters, everything just inundated it all. In the United States, brief, intense storms hit East Texas. I was okay. It didn't really affect us here, but Montgomery County is another story. Lots of property damage there and injuries due to that storm. One building that was under construction collapsed and 2 people died and several people were injured in that incident. And there was about 16,000 people without power after those storms came through. So just intense little hits. And that's pretty much the name of the game. I mean, it's we do have one huge storm to talk about, but a lot of these incidents have just been these rapidly developing flash flooding situations that are gone just as fast as they came in, but the amount of destruction they're leaving behind is just insane. On May 24th, there was 427 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, the biggest of which was a 6.2 in the Banda Sea in Indonesia. And in the United States, the island of Guam was hit by Typhoon Mawar, and it did significant damage. We are talking sustained wind speeds of 220 kilometers per hour, or 140 mile an hour winds. The winds caused significant damage, water supply issue, and of course, power outage. There was no injuries or deaths reported, though, so that is a great thing to happen there. Well, not a great thing, but at least nobody lost their life in it. It's just property. Things can be replaced. People can't. In northern Algeria, 3 people died. 2 of them were children. And I point this out because one of the children that died when the wall of his home collapsed in the flooding incident that happened. So a lot of times I talk about, how to survive tornadoes and this and that, how to survive flooding. Well, one thing that I've definitely added to my flooding list is when it is flooding, try to stay in a central area of your home, like a tornado or even a nuclear event, because it's usually the exterior walls that are compromised and fall over. And we had the gentleman here in Texas that died that way. We have this child out here in Algeria that died that way. So, it doesn't take very much to just move yourself to one of those interior locations. So that way, if something horrible like that does happen, at least you don't have any of your loved ones sitting against the exterior wall that's about to come down. In India, Punjab was hit with a minor hailstorm. It was just a big deal because of Punjab's, huge. So they were dealing with that there. May 25th, there was 470 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger. Again, our numbers are just jumping up and down. Biggest of which was a 5.5 in the Southern Pacific by New Caledonia. So crazy that it's coming up and up and up again. Northern Colombia. Okay, I'm sorry. The 5.5 was the second biggest of the day. Northern Colombia was hit with the biggest earthquake of the day on the Panama-Colombia border. Really neat images. Well, interesting when you study earthquakes and stuff coming out of Panama. It was 30 meters or 48 miles deep. So it's actually a pretty deep earthquake, and it did a lot of damage up top. Some walls collapsed. There was roof damage. They had 82 aftershocks that happened out in the Caribbean Sea after that event. Southern Italy, they saw more rain in the southwest Campania region, flooding, significant damage to homes. One person did die. He was trying to save his vehicle from the floodwater, and then he died. So, leave the material stuff and save your own life. Stuff can be replaced. In southern Spain, there was record-breaking rainfall there. Severe flash flooding event with significant property damage. They saw 140 millimeters or 5.5 inches of rain in 8 hours. That is a lot of rain coming down. Most extreme they've seen in 100 years. And Cartagena was hit the worst. Roads and the beaches, a lot of beaches were just destroyed by that event. So interesting to see what happens on the coastline when you get that much rain. In the United States, in Florida, they actually had an EF0 touchdown. It was a short-lived tornado, but they were dealing, just a tornado in Florida is just crazy, first of all. And they were dealing with 128 kilometer per hour or 80 mile an hour wind, which caused a lot of property damage there. The tornado did travel for a half a mile, and a gentleman that was in his semi truck, it got pushed over from the wind, and he did get injured in that event. On May 26th, Yemen saw severe flooding after heavy rains. Big rain event there. And in the Georgiev Stavropo region of Russia, you like that? I'm getting pretty good at that one now. They had a large hailstorm, so the big hail coming down.
Need Yuri to help.
What's that?
You need the Russian brothers to come help you.
Oh, Yuri.
Yeah.
Yuri will come and help me. We'll get Ryan over here. Today in Europe, they are getting pummeled by rain on a pretty much unprecedented scale. So it was, they're having landslides events there. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But I was watching a video on it this morning that's what's happening there. Maybe we should hit up some of our hosts and make sure they're okay. We have the one gal in Europe now, right?
We do.
So mm-hmm. Two. Wait, the other one's in Italy, isn't she? I think she's in Italy. One's in Europe and one's in
Europe,
Italy.
Isn't it?
Well, I'm talking
Italy,
like the
Europe?
UK.
Okay.
Right? Like the UK is getting hit by, yeah, fair enough. Yeah. So Europe or the UK is getting hit with a severe storm. More rain expected to be on the way, so they're really not going to get a reprieve anytime soon. As far as
I know I went to public school and Pluto was a planet when I had to learn, but
I think they're calling it a planet again.
Are they really?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's good.
I don't know, but yeah, a lot of stuff that I watch is still, they're still classing as a planet. I think that was just margarine's better, no butter's better, no margarine's better, right? You know, get a grip. And they also said that, the Hunga Tonga was going to be the first volcano that didn't cause cooling, it caused warming instead. Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay. So as far as volcanic eruptions go, we have 25 volcanoes actively erupting, 23 showing minor activity, and 35 showing unrest. That's exactly the same as it was last week, so I'm always curious when that happens, that nothing has changed from last week, and we know that we're having some major eruptions. Some of them can fall off, some of them can pick up, so one of them that did pick up into the active eruption phase was Krakatoa. I always keep my eye on that one just because, as an author, the story intrigues me. So Krakatoa is erupting, and most of the volcanic eruptions are happening in the Indonesia area. As far as earthquakes, 4.0 or higher, our numbers have come down from last week, so that's a good thing. We did see the sun was, kicking off a little here and there, but not as intensely as it was the week before. We just saw like a whole series of M-class flares that were just getting fired off that thing. So we had 31 earthquakes that in the last 24 hours that were 4.0 or bigger. We had 63 in the last 48 hours, 255 in the last week, and 607 in the last 2 weeks. And the biggest of today was the 5.6 in the Solomon Islands. What'd you put up there? They're classing it as a dwarf planet?
Planet.
Yeah, see, I told you. It's back on the planet board.
But it's a dwarf.
Well, just because it's small doesn't mean it's any less. Good things come in small packages, Chin.
Oh, I hear you.
Oh, you guys should see me and Chin. He's like gigantic, and I'm like super tiny. So, yeah, it's always the
That's
best.
why we're both laughing so hard.
Oh, it's good. Both you and me ain't never going to be the gray man. We'll be like, oh, that tiny little girl, or oh, that big old tall guy.
Yeah.
Shoot.
I know.
It's the worst.
Never been able to hide in a crowd.
No. Well, I can go as a kid. As long as you can't see me, like I can hood up and then I look like a kid. I can play with the kids. Yeah. Most of them kids are taller than me. I mean, shoot, my 11-year-old's about as tall as I am. So, I'm done for. Okay, did I get through all the 255 in the last week? 607 in the last 2 weeks. Oh yeah, biggest today, was 5.6 Solomon Islands. Okay. As far as United States forest fires go, we're still doing pretty good this year, knock on wood. And send our prayers up. There are 7 large active fires in the United States right now, 46,369 acres in total. North Carolina is still coming in on the number 1 slot.
Still burning.
Yep. 2 fires, 32,364 acres. So get it.
Rain today. It's supposed to rain again.
I know. I thought you guys were getting a pretty good storm today, except for on the coast area is what I'm saying. Maybe not where you are, but on the coast area. And but there was high winds though too. So if enough rain didn't come in and we got more wind than anything, then that's not good. Anyhow, New Mexico's coming in second place, 1 fire, accounting for 7,261 acres. Florida is still in the number 3 slot with 1 fire, 4,952 acres. And Oregon had a fire start up. So here goes our West Coast. And that fire is at 1,300 acres. So hopefully they can get that one under control quickly. And we won't have some problems out there. We don't need any problems out there on the West Coast. Well, we don't need any problems anywhere in the world, So, yeah. Nobody needs that, but that's why we prepare, stay ready, be prepared, not scared. So, yeah, I was hitting up some of my friends last night. I'm like, well, when was it the last day for you to prepare? And they're just like, oh, wow, that's scary. I'm like, yeah, aren't I fun to hang out with? Okay, let's move on to something lighter. So, yeah. But there I was like, whoa, that's true. I'm like, I know. I just learned that one. You take one of Dave's nuclear classes and you're just, forever. Thanks, Dave. Love ya. Good stuff, though, man. I actually changed, so much of, I feel cheated. I thought that iodine was if it was a nuclear disaster, you need that stuff. That's going to help. That doesn't help at all. I didn't ask him about painting yourself with iodine. I'd heard that too. But I'd assume it's the same thing to just protect yourself from future cancer. And it takes 30, 40 years. I mean, if you're over 40, there ain't much to worry about at that point, you ain't going to live forever. So, yeah, it's really just for the youngins and that. Totally. How long have we've been learning and training and studying this information? You just learn something new all the time. So. Alrighty. Well, look at me. I'm right on time today. Woot.
Dang.
I know.
You're professional.
Killing it today.
You've done this over 400 times
Over
now.
400 times. It's insane. So yeah, guys, go check it out. If you want your signed copy of Virgis, I'll probably update my website tomorrow, 5/29. So that's when you can start putting in orders for the book if you want your signed copy. And then we'll just look forward to when the next, it's coming. It's getting closer, and I cannot wait to share the new episode of the Changing Earth audio drama with you guys. Whole new level. And Brad from 5 Times August gave us permission to use some of his music, and it's such a good fit. And so I can't wait to show it to him. And show them all the cool stuff that it really just makes that audio drama sing. Pun fully intended. So, yeah, I'm excited for that. And then we're going to have some cool events coming up. I got the bloopers show I'm going to do. The bloopers are hilarious, you guys. So it's going to be so much fun to do that show. Stay tuned for sure. Alrighty. Next week, we got Virgis, Chapter 7. And we'll just keep rolling till we're at like 500 million episodes. We just don't know where it's going to go. Alrighty, guys. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks for showing up in the chat room. Love y'all. Until next time, remember, dream.
Thank you for joining Sarah and Chen for this episode of the Changing Earth podcast. Don't forget to pick up your copy of Day After Disaster, Without Land, The Walls of Freedom, Battle for the South, Dark Days in Denver, and The Endless Night at www.authorSarahFHathaway.com. If you love the Changing Earth series and podcast, become a supporter while you're there.